three chair, Stefan Pimeyer, as the chair of the SC139 of RTCM. He coordinated and led all the standardization process at the RTCM for the MMS, and he will introduce MMS shortly, and then there will be a demonstration by Oliver Hack, who is system architect of the DMC. We will start from the IP-based demonstration, and then we will show that the MMS could be also used for VDES for its connectivity by showing very interesting pictures. Between the presentations, there will be a Mentimeter survey to get some response from you, which will be coordinated by Lars, the CEO of the Stenula. So I will start the short introduction of the MMS history.
Oh, you need to press the button, no? No, it's on, yeah.
Yeah, this is the birth of the MMS concept with the forbidden word, maritime cloud. Yeah. If I say once, and I should buy one glass of beer, but I would like to do that today. So, as you can see, the very core initial concept of the maritime messaging system is that how we can more efficiently deliver the message to the designated ships. So the geocaching concept was introduced in that days. So that's why we can say that Mr. Thomas Christensen is the father of the MMS concept. This is the first architecture thought on the MCP whole, including the MMS. This is the MCP in MCDF days, Maritime Cloud Development Forum days. That was MCDF days. So actually, I remember that this is the architecture drawing by the Axel Hahn, who is the chair of the working group 1, who is absent from the committee now. And then we have changed the Maritime Cloud to Maritime Connectivity Platform, and having consortium, setting up the consortium for more sustainable the development and evolution of the MCP. And in the MCP consortium, there are 3 working groups, as you know. So one of them is MMS working group. Actually, the MMS concept was introduced to INAV 20 by working group 1 as an initial concept, and actually that was applied for the smart navigation service. Now it is in operation, but that is kind of previous or old concept. That means there was a new era of MMS, which was elaborated by many experts of MCP consortium. The many experts, including Michael Thompson and Oliver and Stefan and Thomas and Yuho and all the people who joined their forces contributed for developing a new standard of MMS. As a result of our elaboration, we have now finally we have a new standard of RTCM as a result of activities at the ST139 of the RTCM. So this is a very short but very interesting history of the MMS. So now Stefan will include what we have on our hands as a new standard of RTCM, MMS standard. So, Stefan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Chin. Okay, I think I stay here. That's my normal position when I'm in here, so I prefer to be like that, comfortable. Yeah, shortly, MMS, a public standard. It's actually the presentation I prepared for RTCM, because in the RTCM annual conference that is in 3 weeks or something from now, we're going to talk about that as well, because then the RTCM people, all of them know that they have a new standard or what it should do. I want to name that I'm here on the bill of Sternula, so thank you for sponsoring my work also at RTCM. Very important, I think, for everybody of you, because this is not something one company does. It's an effort of many, many people, as we just heard from Jin. It's just it's just an intermediate step to make MMS actually accessible for the professionals out there, because without a standard, yeah, it's difficult to let's say make everybody using it. So now we have a standard. And I quickly go over the next slides because you know who I am and what I do. Most of you do. What we will see here is what I want to talk to you about is the new maritime communication means that we have. What in the eyes of the MMS developers, at least, or inventors, is lacking there. And what we have today then, together with the MMS that we have. So there you will see there's a lot of software and so on you can use. There is also some stuff we don't have yet. So I will also list that, because you shouldn't be in the blind there. And then I will go a little bit into the details. What is MMS and what can it do for you? And yeah, and what's the tasks around that? What will be done? What is the short future? How do we want to disseminate that work into not only IALA, but maybe also IMO and so on. So, because there's still some work to be done. Good. So we have some new maritime communications, I call that. And VHF data exchange system, also VDES, is I think certainly one of them. It's a new maritime communication. What I mean with that is dedicated for maritime. Maritime owns, you can say, the frequencies. I know there's a few countries but it's still in maritime. Few countries are still struggling to get the frequencies back, let's say, but most of us have these frequencies and they are dedicated for maritime. They are also protectable by local authorities to be only used for maritime. It's not like an ISM band where everybody can run baby phones on, right? So we have a certain protection here. Same is for NAVDAT, or even better, because NAVDAT actually uses frequencies that are protected by Annex 15 of the radio regulations for the use for GMDSS. It's also a new system, not so much discussed here, I believe. I know Working Group 2 has discussed about it. I think Working Group 1, many of you think probably, why do we discuss that at all? There is the internet out there. But I come back to that one. And for Working Group 3, NAVDAT was developed by some members that are sitting here, but we never really discussed it here. So I will shortly say just here that is something that works over very low frequencies. In principle, can work on the same frequencies as the NAVTEX. Many of you should know today. It's mandatory equipment on board of ship in many SOLAS classes. But NAVTEX has a lot of limitations, and therefore people want to transport a bit more data and so on, and reuse these highly protected frequencies for NAVDAT. It's a broadcast service, but it could be, for example, this one we can openly say could be used for MSI, for maritime safety information. We have interesting data rates, 50 kilobit, 70 kilobit. I don't know if that's only on a good day, but that has to be found out. But it's attractive stuff. Many of you administrations probably will look into using NAVDAT. And then I know that some friends of the US administration at least are looking into a 4 gigahertz maritime. It's a 4 gigahertz band that can be used as well for maritime. And we are talking about 400 megahertz of spectrum. That's a lot. And the US tries in the next World Radio Conference to try to get that secured for maybe for digital maritime communications. That is something, right? That's something. That's interesting. Just to name it, it's also actually a maritime communication means that is in the coming. And now you can ask, why do I list that here? Because I want to talk about MS. Well, let's go to the next slide then. Because if we look a little bit back to how did we do things before, we had enough text that was used for maritime safety information. We have DSC on VHF channels that was used for some kind of short messages between ships and some signaling for emergency cases. We have Inmarsat C for something of the similar, but a little bit different. We had Telex where you could do text messaging and so on. A lot of these technologies were directly bound to the use cases and to the data. That's the history a bit in SOLAS chapter 4 and 5. I don't want to say it's bad or good. I just say that's how we used to do things. So if we just would continue like this, we would say we use NAVTAT for A, B, C, D, E, and F, but not for all the other possible things. And VDES we only use for X, Y, and Z. The thing is just, if I, as an engineer, look at NAVTAT or at VDES, right, that's just, I can just transport bits through a pipe. What I transport through it is mostly dependent on how much can I put through it and how much important is that data and whom do I want to reach. It is actually a pity to say I only use NAVTAT for maritime safety information, just to say something. It would be nice that if we are in the Arctic, that we maybe also transport ice charts through it, if the administration would support that, right? So what we see more and more, and what of course Working Group 1 is fighting for, and I personally agree a lot, is that on one side we have services and we have data, and that needs to be harmonized because the equipment on board of the ship needs to be able to work with that data. And then we have some means to transport that data from A to B. And I've listed here on that slide a few means of transport. There is multiple more. There is also internet connectivity. Many ships have that. And when it's working and if it's working and if it's secure, why not using it, right? So that's one more of the list, but it's not maritime dedicated, therefore it's not there. But common of all of these systems on the list is when you open the standards that define these systems, they are not compatible. It's just described how to get bits from A to B. And that's the same for the older systems like AIS and NAVTEX and so on. Sometimes they define which bits to use for what, which limits a lot to its usage, very unflexible. What I think we lack is therefore a unified way to provide a cybersecure communications from service to ship, of course, also vice versa. And we may add ship to ship, which is a bit more detailed, but on the high level, a unified way we don't have today. Everybody tries to fight so something else. Some say it's the internet, some say it's VDES. Other people develop NAVTAT, and you can even get the feeling that there is competition between these things. And we are such a small community. We have only a few thousand units sold per year for the ships in the whole world. When we talk about equipment for ships, the market is so small that it doesn't make sense that we have competing technologies. They should work together. They should be able to be used, not competing against each other, but embracing each other. Okay. The word embracing comes now. Embracing all available communications. So having a unified way, embracing all available communications doesn't exist today. Of course it does now, right? That's my whole story with MMS. But without MMS, you don't have anything there. You need to define for each of these technologies, how do you want to use them and what does the ship do when the first bit of this sequence comes and so on. Very, very nerdy details. So, of course, we would say that the shore side, which is usually authorities, needs to be able to choose what to support. Also, for example, France says we want to have our maritime safety information transported via NAFTA, the internet, VDES, Inmarsat-C, of course, right? That's still there, and NAVTEX, right? Let's say France decides that, then there should be a system that they don't have 5 computers where they for VDES type the message and then for Inmarsat-C type the message and then they go over to the next computer, type it into NAVTEX and then into the next computer, NAVDAT. I hear that from many administrations, that's how that works today. For me as an engineer, that sounds crazy, right? Alone the work and the human error you will get by copy pasting stuff in best case or typing it 20 times is not effective. It's not good. It's also, it's not very structured. So what we want is in principle one service interface, right? That's the service data delivered in a format that everybody understands. And then we send that data into a system where every kind of communication system, including internet clients, can say, I'm interested in that data. Whenever something comes that's new, I want to know that because I'm NAVDAT. I need to transport that to my ships every 15 minutes or half hour, whatever. Then I make a list of the most important stuff and send that. And then I'm dreaming Inmarsat-C also does that, right? And gets the data and so on. So they just ask to get please updates of that data. That's how these new things work. So that's what we think is a good idea, unified and embracing all available communications. So these communication gateways, we will come to that point, can say, I'm interested in that data, please give it to me when it comes. Okay, we start there. Then, of course, boats and ships. Today we have SOLAS chapter 5 and 4 defined clearly. You have to have this kind of equipment in order to get these and these services. The services are very limited today. Complicated things like nice weather overlays or nice ice charts and so on are not covered because that's also with the equipment that we have today in these chapters not possible. It's too much data. So what we need now to look at is what is available on the ship. And we hear that in the future, the idea is to tell the ship not that you shall use communication means A or B or C. It's more going into the direction to say to the ship, well, you should have, when you sail in the Arctic, a means to receive ice charts updates. It's basically a little bit up to yourself how you do it. And then the administration can tell you, okay, we have these ice charts there and we actively distribute them, for example, through NAVDAT and VDESAT as 2 means of communication. And then the ship can choose which ones to use, depending on the class, depending on insurances, and so on and so on. A lot of stuff. But we need a system that supports the different communication means we find on land and we find on the ships. And in the future, it will be difficult with all these different means that are coming up. The list grows all the time to make from an authority point of view matrix and say you have to have this or that. So in order to make that more flexible, if that's the wish, and I hear that as well, that is the wish, we want to be flexible, and that's as well something we need, right? And we don't have that yet either. That whole thing also shall scale. So ideally, now I'm completely out of SOLAS, gone away from SOLAS. I think about US Coast Guard wanting to ensure that all small boats on the coast, because that costs a lot of money to rescue these people when they don't have updated weather and things like that. They should be able to access all my services as a maritime authority via mobile phone. Right? Why not? They are not SOLAS. They don't need NAVDAT and NAVTEX on their little rubber boat, but they have a mobile phone. So if I use a unified way that also distributes over the internet, everybody with a mobile phone can digest all maritime services. I think personally that's a requirement, right? In a modern system, it should work. And then, of course, we come into the ships which are equipped with NAVTEX, NAVDAT, VDES, and so on. That's more the SOLAS class or high-level shipping vessels and so on. They have a lot of information means to get on the ship because they are high class. They want to get the best of everything. So why should they not be allowed to use the best they have? And if something goes down, like let's say Starlink and Elon Musk has just decided to switch off again for a few minutes, then you can, of course, use something else, right? That should be completely automatically supported. And then we have, of course, the ships as well. Oh, only 5 minutes left. You're kidding me. Didn't we say 45? Okay. Okay, that's very, that I can't do. Okay. Then we have ships with high-speed internet access, of course, maybe even multiple high-speed internet access, and with redundancy and everything. My point is we want to embrace all of that and span over all of that. You know what the answer is. I can continue like that. We also want routing in that whole thing. So messages shall not just go from land to ship. It should be able to send a message from one ship that has one means of communication to another ship that has a completely different mean of communications. So many of us talk ship to ship via VDES, but maybe ship number 2 has no VDES. Maybe ship number 2 has internet and ship number 1 has VDES. Then we need a system that routes the message through VDES into IP and to that second ship, right? Should be easy. To make it short, what we have today is a set of really nice guidelines that explain us Maritime Identity Registry, Maritime Service Registry, that's a maritime connectivity platform. We have service designs, the first service designs that describe how is the data structured so everybody can use it. We have these incompatible standard for communication means, and what we have now all is MMS to bind it all together. That's the message here. The standard is called RTCM 139.00.0 and describes the first standardization of MMS. You can download it from RTCM's homepage, but it's actually also an input paper to this committee. So for the committee work, you can also use it here. And that makes it possible to use, for example, these CCOM services that a lot of Working Group 1 members work on to disseminate into the internet, actually, a lot of these very interesting new services with unified understanding of how the data is structured. And in a trusted way, actually, very important. So with all cybersecurity enabled, and that can be then transported through any internet connection available, terrestrial or satellite VDES. So we talk about the VDE channels here. NAVDAT is actually included, and this 4 gigahertz band maritime connectivity, well, that is a little bit preliminary because we first need to go to ITU. But NAVDAT is completely there, and VDES is also there. For both of these, we practically have performance standards in IMO. So what we just need is to bind it all together. Operations of existing technologies, what I told you this with the 20 different screens, right, for Inmarsat, for Navtex, maybe even AIS ASM, to combine that together. MMS can also do that for you, and it does it in this architecture. It's the picture that we plan to put into an IMO input paper, showing you that on this side, you have the services, that's the right side. Then you have the MMTP, that's a protocol, the Maritime Messaging Transport Protocol. And that transports through the architecture of the MMS over on the other side where the users are. It's of course not ships only. It can be another user on land. It can be a lighthouse. It can be a buoy. It can be anything. It can be a consumer of a service. We have made here also explicitly the ACTIS case because there we need to take into account the existing performance requirements according to cybersecurity on board of the ship. That's in IEC 61162-450 and 60, which is in principle also taken into account in MMS, so in case you wonder about that. Okay, the architecture is complicated. Yes, people say that. And then you ask people, can we do it in a simpler way? It doesn't look like. So it's just a way to display something that in principle, every single box here is relatively simple. You can look in the standard. It's described there. But but it also shows many different use cases here. So it shows a complex use case where you can access from a ship on the left side through IP connectivity. So that could be a 4G modem when you are close to land. You can, of course, use land mobile internet infrastructure, or it could be a SATCOM connection, or both. Could be also 3 SATCOM connections and 2 land mobile connections, whatever. And it shows VDE terrestrial and VDE SAT. We haven't shown NAVDAT as well because then the picture gets too full. But here you have the complex picture. Everything is described in the standard, of course. And there is also the protocol layers here. And for everybody who can read protocol layer figures, you will see that it's no magic done here. There is this MMTP layer, the Maritime Messaging Transport Protocol, that runs on top of simple IP connections. And when you then get into the VDES world, you transport that MMTP over the VDES link. And then you end on the ship side and you give it back to the application layer, which then can convert it to the necessary formats for your application environment. That could be a specific file format, for example, an S100 document in zip format that would be then digested by an ACDIS. And that's exactly, I think, what we will see in the demo as well. And we will get to that very soon. It's basically this picture. I think Matthew explained that picture, right? Or is it Oliver? I don't remember. Some of us explains it.
Not included.
Not included.
Yeah,
So
is
I
not
explained
included.
that picture because that's important. Because what you're gonna see in principle down there is we start in the bottom right. There is a NYOD platform that provides a S124 Maritime Safety Information Service. Coming from Denmark, actually, I think, yeah, we have Denmark over there, exactly. And Denmark will make some maritime safety information, and that goes through a SECOM gateway of our IALA member IAV Nautics, also known as DMC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same company, yeah.
Same company, yeah, by the way. Going into an edge router here. That's an open source piece of software developed courtesy of IAV Nautics. So everybody can download that for free, actually. Then it goes into the so-called router network. Today, IAV Nautics is hosting how many? 9 different routers or 8 or something like that? Or was it 6? I don't remember, Thomas. That's one instance. Yeah. 2, okay. So we run over the IALA instance, so that's an update to the picture actually, sorry. With 2 routers involved that are hosted by IALA and driven by IALA. Driven by IALA. Good.
Endorsed by IALA.
Endorsed by IALA.
And hosted by CRISO and
yes.
supported by Aeronautics DMC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What that tells you is, nice that we do that little dance, is it's an open source piece of software. If you want to do your router, go ahead, download it, run it, and you have an instance, right? That's it. So MMS is not a lot of magic, and it's not very expensive, and it's not very complicated. It is in principle very simple, and that's the whole point. But you need different things because you have different hierarchical layers in order to route the data through all these different means. Of course, you need some instances to create that flexibility. And you want to have redundancy, right? With only one router in the world, if that goes down, that's bad. You lose the whole MMS. But as this is a system that allows you to use multiple routers, it works with 2 routers. It also works with 1, by the way, and also works with 100. And that's the point. We can make this redundant. We can make this owned by you, right? That's the point. Okay, then we go on to an edge router here. And that's the edge router that interfaces then with the VDE terrestrial gateway. So that's a piece of software and hardware that interfaces to a VDES base station that's down there. And then I think that's then Mass's task to explain a bit more about which box is which. So we jump over that right now. And then you have a transmission over a VDE terrestrial link. And on the ship side, of course, you receive that with a commercial, by the way, commercial base station, commercial equipment from Saab, I need to say. And the interfacing is done by Sternula right now, but again, it's an open standard. Everybody can implement these things. So it's important. That's not a dance of two companies. Everybody can do that. And then we are on the ship side and go into a so-called MMS edge router that combines all these different means of communication and then sends it, in our case, to an integrated navigation system platform. It's not a physical thing that runs on a notebook, on Mass's notebook, because that's also open source software that ENS, in order to display then the maritime safety information that has been created down here. So yes, it's many boxes. The good thing is when somebody takes out the cable between the two VDES boxes, the whole stuff runs over the internet, or it was the other way around. Mass will tell you that. So that's with the handover between the two technologies is just like that. And that's the whole point. When you lose one, when you gain a better possibility to transport the data, you use it. That's the whole point. When you sail around a corner and you use 4G connectivity, you use VDES if you have it. You use NAVDAT if it works, and so on. Okay, well, there's, as I said, some open source software on GitHub. The MMS router network, the MMS edge router is there, an agent is there. There is this kind of adaptation to terrestrial and satellite VDES. There is no open source software right now. It's described in the standard how to do that. You can develop it yourself, or you can buy it right now from Sternula. There will probably come other companies who do something similar. And the same for the CCOM MMS gateway. That's right now as well not open source software. That's in our demo today run by Ivenautics. That means with all that available, it's possible to start development and test services this way out there now. You can buy the VDES equipment if you want to use VDES, if you want to use IP to make your first tests, which is a good idea for the first tests. You can go ahead and start immediately. What is missing is test and equipment standard for MMS. We have a protocol standard, but not a test or equipment standard. Has to be done. We, of course, need to update RTCM 139 when we get more clever. That's the same we do with 2092, right? We learn, and that's open for all the learnings. Please come back to me. We missed to do a demo at IMO. That's planned for NCSR 12 in May 2025. CERM is helping us with that. Saab has requested CERM, and I have seen a few emails. It doesn't look bad. It looks good. So probably some of us will see us at NCSR 12. This is actually an initiative of the VDES Alliance, who has sponsored some of the activity because it requires also a bit of hours of work, and has also created 2 roll-ups that are there. So they are from the VDES Alliance. It's mostly industry members of IALA, but also others included. Who have sponsored that and helped to digest a bit what should we show about VDES and MMS. It's both on these roll-ups. It's very simplified. Yes, and then we plan to make a new output proposal for MMS in IMO at MSC 111. That's in 1 year from now. To create a kind of a new work item in IMO to please look at MMS and what can we use it for, and isn't that a good solution to be used a little bit more broadly? I think, yeah, now I can also take the last slide, can't I? Okay. Yeah. And the outlook for me is for other narrowband services like AIS, NAVTEX, NAVDAT and VDES become the routing and trust platform. Provide updates of PKI certificates to ships. Also, for example, VDES and other boxes on board of the ship will need private keys, or not the private keys, but the certificates for services, private keys for their own equipment, and so on. These things have to be updated, etc. We need standard interfaces for that. And MMS could be a means to transport and help to get these certificates onto the ship. As well as provide revocations for the really bad cases where some people have lost some keys. So if you have a break-in to your IT center at some place where you disseminate very critical data, you want to tell that to the world and say, hey, you cannot trust that key anymore, but I have a new key, it's that one. right? So that also needs to be disseminated everywhere, and MMS could be a solution for that. And then in the end, of course, alignment of service data for all maritime safety services, and in the long run, also maritime safety information. But I want to share with you, before we can use MMS for maritime safety information, of course, all this needs to be endorsed by IMO. That's not going to happen tomorrow. That's a way that some of us will try to walk and see how it goes. Yes, and with this, we want to say it's not just slideware and a standard, right? It's actually working. And that's what the demo is there for. And I give back to Chin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We can, yeah. I think we can take some questions if we have, yeah.
Wow. That can be very bad or very good. Hideki, no questions. So in principle, the MMS can interface with all of these transport means. I just haven't listed all of them, but as I listed kind of also the old ones, existing ones, it of course requires for every of these transport means, you need what we call a gateway. And there you adapt the MMS to the specific stuff of that means of transport. Inmarsat-C is a proprietary system, so that would, of course, require the cooperation of Inmarsat, obviously. Yes. Yeah. We really need a microphone for you, Hideki. Thank you, Lars.
Because there are a lot of discussion regarding when recognition of the Elysium services recognized maritime mobile service in GMDSS, because many naval area coordinator and metal area coordinator does need to have two terminals for email
Exactly.
and Elysium. But if we have a MMS,
It's
just only one terminal, so it's good to not for IR view, but maybe you can go to the WMO and IHO to maybe selling MMS services.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Hideki, because the real idea is that you only have one MSI service, and that uses the SECOM interface. And then everybody who needs that data can either get it from the MMS router network, right? That's one possibility, and use the MMS architecture with the gateways for the different technology means. Inmarsat-C, then there would be an Inmarsat-C gateway, right? I didn't put that on the picture. Some people would maybe get angry without being asked. But that's what MMS can do. But it is also possible that Inmarsat would directly interface with the S124 data that comes directly from the service. That would also be a possibility, because this interface here could be over the open internet, actually. The SECOM service, the basic idea behind SECOM is to be on the open internet. But only over here. I want to make sure that that's here, right? Some of that stuff here is, of course, in a secure IT environment. But the technology allows you to do communications over the open internet. That's actually also when you do MMS over the internet, that is just as secure as when you go to your bank over a web browser. So I hope that answers the question. And yes, we would also embrace AIS ASMs, for example. Some countries use that. Sounds so today that is state of the art, right? So, and that should be also supported and would be supported. Of course, it requires some cooperation and to define how do we do that best. But that's just an annex in the specification. So if you look into the MMS specification, you see there is one annex for each of these access means. It's very simple.
If I add something more on Stefan's answer, if we think about the multiple points, two categories. The first one is from the service provider's side, and on the other is the service consumer's side, shipowner side.
Yeah.
So if we have just one point for providing the maritime services, then it would reduce the workload from the service provider's perspective. Now we need to, the service provider need to put give information with multiple points. So the Navtex and the Inmarsat and all the things need to be managed all together. So by using the MMS, you can just have one point to give those services. From the consumer side, if you have a unified gateway for getting information with the different communication systems, which is connected to, for example, your ACDIS, and then all the information dedicated to the ship will be received by that one device, not using the multiple devices. So to have 1 point to 1 point, that is environment, I think, from the service provider's side, there should be some the interfaces that is connected to the MMS. And from the shipment side, there should be some unified gateway that is connected to multiple communication carriers. So once having those components for each of the sides, you can be benefited from the one device, 1 point service provider and 1 point for the service consumer configuration.
There is a hand on the internet with W. Who is that W?
No, this is Usong.
Usong, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question to Stefan.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for your clear and very good presentation about the MMS. For the clarification or for clear understanding, I have very simple 2 questions. I think the MMS have many items in the architecture, as I understand. But my question is, what is the MMS level in a sense of the software architecture? MMS is a technology or interface or any kinds of a framework? My second question is,
good.
Yeah, my second question is, how much should we pay to use the MMS for any specific communication except communication cost?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Susong. First one, how would I categorize in a kind of software lingo or protocol communication lingo what the MMS is? I actually got some help there. I was at an IEC workshop in South Africa of Working Group 15, and we got some visitor from the CCOM group there, and he after I think he understood partly what we want to do with the MMS, he burst it out, that's an overlay network. I thought about it and said, yeah, an overlay network. If you look at these drawings here, right, the protocol layer drawing, you see what we do is we put a protocol layer on top of all these other protocols. So yes, it's an overlay network, and that's also how you normally solve that kind of problem. You abstract from what is below. It's an overlay network. Calling it a framework, I think that's more the MCP that is the framework. Of course, we can discuss terminology, right? So now I tried to give that some words. The other thing is the cost. I think it depends completely how you want to run the MMS. I'm sorry about that answer, right? Because I'm not earning money with the MMS. First of all, if you are an industry partner and you want to buy the standard in order to produce your own product, it costs $250 to download that from RTCM legally and to use it for your product. So that's cost number 1. But as a committee member, you can look at it at least for free now because it's part of the input paper package. So do that first before you buy it, right? But then buy it if you like it. I think that should be the order. I know that the president of RTCM, we have agreed with him on that order. Okay, but then we come to the cost of operations, right? If you let me go to the picture of the architecture here. Of this picture, what you need to operate router networks or edge routers and so on, that is in principle instances, internet instances that are as secure as you would make web servers, right? So yes, you want to protect them physically, and yes, you want to protect them against cyber attacks and things like that. And that's more or less the cost of hosting an application that is relevant for safety relevant services and so on. But many of your administrations already have that. I think that depends a lot on what you already have. You can buy these services today, as far as I know. Ivenautics plans to sell router network connectivity and edge router connectivity, and Stanula does that as well, and there will come others who offer that as a hosted service in case your country or your company or your service, maybe you are a service provider and you don't want to host all that yourself, you just want a plug, and then you have to ask them what it costs, right? That's not on me to say, but we are in these ranges of typically IT hosted services. I say it's not extremely expensive. And then we come, of course, to the MIR and MSR because we are dependent on the identity registry, identities and service registries. But that discussion we have on the level of the maritime connectivity platform. And that depends, again, completely on what you need, where you are. I know that some administrations are actually thinking about running their own MIR. They say we make an MIR that's in our country responsible for all ships in that country. Other countries say, no, that's something private industry shall do and so on. So I think that's really dependent on how it is in your situation. In principle, I would expect it should cost about the price of a security certificate for a banking homepage. And that range is also quite a lot between whom you trust and whom you go to. We are discussing to make the top level responsibility of this maybe in IHO, maybe in Ayala, and of course IMO would be involved and so on. And there we talk about identities, especially for service providers, because all shipping in the whole world needs to trust them. So we need a trust chain that ends somewhere at a UN level. Because we need to trust, all ships need to trust that when they get the data from Denmark, that it's really the data from Denmark and so on. But then the cost is more, something that we as a maritime community need to talk about. It can be that we agree that that's something governments just pay for. It can also be something we agree on that has to be done by private industry. I surely don't know, but you can download it as open source software. So it's not the software or not the processing power that costs. It's more the administration around it that will cost, because somebody will have to fill out papers, send passports, pictures of ships. I don't know, right? That's more the work.
Yeah,
there.
and I can give answers in a simple way. And
that we should have started with. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, MMS is at application layer, a protocol that is operating at an application layer. So 7th layer of the OSI model, that's all. And for cost, it's a special promotion period. So you can just apply for your use of the MCP, and that includes MIR, MSR, and MMS. And we are ready for providing you with nearly zero cost for a while. Yeah, so as Stefan pointed out, use it, and if necessary, if needed, I think you can buy it with a better security or with a better guarantee conditions. So we are already providing the MMS router service to Stanula with some contract, and so
Yeah, and
That is-
yeah,
yeah.
and Stanula provides the infrastructure to connect it with VDES. So
Yeah,
that's also
yeah,
something you
yeah.
see here is presented and also works. So
Yeah.
yes. So yes, if you want to have an offer, you can just contact either Stanula or Avianautics today. We hope that the list of companies grows.
It's time for uses, not for revenue. So you can just give as many as chances as many as possible for our community users. Yeah.
So now we need to start, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, now come many hands. Now when
Yeah.
I said now we need to start with the demo, otherwise we don't have enough
I
time.
think we can just take two
Yes?
questions.
Yeah.
Ross and Dimitri.
Okay.
Ross, yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
when you
Uh,
talk
so,
about, when you
just
talk
a quick
about-
question. I think you mentioned already you talk with the IMO, IEC, and everything, but where will be the primary body for legislation will be sitting? Is it kind of IEC standard, or because if you want to make it something like a standardized, we need to understand whom we need to talk, right?
Okay, the RTCM has standardized the MMS protocol. Well, but to make it mandatory, there is only, so if you talk that mandatory, there's only IMO who can do that. And as I said, there is a path to go there, but don't ask me when, right? So that's a work. If we think, now we present this to you to get some feedback, right? If you said it's completely crap, please tell, because then maybe we shouldn't go to IMO with the version we demonstrate you today. So, but the plan is to go to IMO, to MSC 111, that's next year, to propose a new output, and then probably NCSR 14 would take that up in 2027. And then NCSR can decide on what MMS can be used for, and probably that's a 2-year working period. So then we are in 2028. That maybe NCSR comes with a proposal to MSC, then would be 114 or 15. So then we are in 29, 30-ish, where maybe this could become mandatory. If that's, personally, I don't expect that. It would be good if they would allow it as a means of transport, because I think that's where IMO is going. But it would be the only means that combines everything. So by that, it would be then nearly mandatory, right? Somehow. But that's my personal view, which is a very little view. Ross.
okay, when you look at the diagram, that's where the cost may or may not come in, because you have, for example, the 4G, you have to have a subscriber there. The VDE sat, you may have to subscribe there as well. VDE terrestrial is free.
Probably.
Yeah, VDE terrestrial is free. And this is why we are pushing for this recommendation 2116 for the 4 gigahertz band, because there it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do it
Yeah.
in accordance with IT recommendation 2116 is free. We have the spectrum available.
Yeah.
And it's high bandwidth. So that's what we're trying to do, is we have multiple access to multiple systems. Some are free, some are not.
Mhm. Good. Thank you, Ross. Maybe we can quickly take Lars as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So then I want to say thank you for that. We celebrate actually the new RTCM standard. When you leave the room, then after the demo, there will be some champagne directly out there before you come to the soiree. So you can start the soiree with some champagne, right? And that's actually courtesy of Stanula. Full stop.
Yep.
Yes.
Step,
Good.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So then we start with the demo now.
Yeah. Now,
No,
oh,
we
yeah.
do the teaser
Yeah,
first.
Yeah.
Ah.
Mentimeter. Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to facilitate a good demonstration, we have some teasing questions that we hope you will participate in. So I just
Champagne
need
is not
to-
free of charge. Yeah.
No. Okay. So here we go. Yeah. Yeah. So please jump into this Mentimeter competition or questionnaire. So we start out with a little question on your thoughts on what is keeping you from using VDES and MMS. So just be creative and come up with good answers to that. And then we should soon be able to see some results already coming up here. Yeah, so we have lack of standards. That's partly solved now. Regulatory cost, nothing. Yeah, that's a good answer. Nothing to fear. We have some fans of the technology, I guess. Addressing messages for test, competencies, knowledge, use cases, identities, authentication. A lot of good stuff is being added here.
What is IACS?
IACS. Yeah, International Association of Classification Society.
Ah,
Yes,
they
yeah.
prevent us. Okay.
Okay.
And some letters. Ship cyber requirements.
Cost, and the regulatory.
So cost can be that it's lower than you expect, but I leave you to contact your trusted IALA members from the industry to ask them what it costs, because that's them you need to ask that, and we don't discuss that openly, unfortunately, here. Regulatory, that's you guys, right? You sit there.
Champagne.
So make it work.
I don't know what exactly for the VDES, but regarding the MMS cost is not problem. Special promotion period, as I told you.
Yeah, and regulatory, yeah, okay. Of course,
Right.
MMS
So-
is not endorsed yet. No.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. There we
Okay,
need-
so I guess we will hand over to Oliver now.
Yep.
So I'll stop sharing, and you can of course follow these questions on the phone.
Do we make a screenshot of that, Lars? Can you keep that stuff so we can put it in the report later?
Yes.
Thank you.
So as it was pointed out, the MMS is one of the main components of the MCP to deal with the IP connectivity, and then embracing the all other communication systems, including the VDES. So Oliver is presenting, demonstrating what we have by using the MMS in IP environment.
Yes. Yes. Doesn't allow me to go further than this slide. Let's do this way then. So yes, thank you. So I will give you a very quick overview of the components that we have in our demonstration. And I do promise that it will be very quick, because I think we have already spent a lot of time, and some of the components have already been discussed. So to start with, we have a SECOM service that provides some data navigation warnings, and that service is NJORD, which is a service by the Danish authorities for creating and publishing MSI. And it can provide navigation warnings in the S124 data format over SECOM. Then we have our MMS setup. So we have the now IALA endorsed test MCP MMS network, which consists of 2 MMS routers, each having an MMS edge router connected to them. So we have 1 pair
hosted in a data center in Sweden, and another pair hosted in a data center in Korea. And then we have the MMS/VDES equipment from Sternula, which Mads, he will explain more in detail in a moment, so I won't go into details with that. Then we have to actually be able to propagate the data sent from Njord to the MMS network. We have a so-called SECOM to MMS gateway, which, as it says, it's a gateway between SECOM-based services and MMS network. Currently, it's one-directional gateway, so it's from SECOM to MMS, but we are also working on making a specification for a bidirectional gateway, so you can send both messages from SECOM to MMS, but also from MMS to SECOM, but that's in the works right now, so we will not show that. And in this demonstration, we use it to transfer navigational warnings from Njord over SECOM to the MMS network over MMTP, which is this Maritime Message Transfer Protocol, which Stefan also described before. And then, a little bit simpler overview of the whole diagram that Stefan showed before, but still pretty much showing the same thing. So we have Njord sending data, then we have the SECOM gateway, or SECOM to MMS gateway, which is connected to an MMS edge router.
Oliver, sorry, can you make it a bit more wide maybe? Because we are only using half of the screen for that nice graphics. I don't know. It's difficult to read, I think.
I can maybe make
Just
the screen.
here we can.
No.
Yeah.
Is that better? Yeah. Right.
Much better, thank you.
Yeah, for some reason the presentation mode is not working.
Never done.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that. Yes. So yes, we had the edge router, which is connected to router, which is part of the router network, and then on the other side we have another edge router, which is then connected to Sternula's MMS proxy box, which then is connected to the VDES base station, and then that sends the message over VD terrestrial link to the ship side VDES box, which is then connected to another Sternula MMS proxy box, and then we have that is connected to OpenCPN. Then we were originally also going to show with our Avionics ChatC app, but we're going to show that over pure IP instead. So, and yes, I think that goes to the next Mentimeter, unless there are any questions.
We'll demonstrate.
I think the demonstration is coming after Mass's slides.
Yep.
So I don't know, Lars, do you want to have the screen again for the questions?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So before we move on to Mads, we'll just do another Mentimeter, which is a more quick one, because it's very simple questions. Can you exploit VDES MMS for your S100 services, so your own implemented or stuff that has been provided to you? So there are a few who cannot, and some that don't know, and some that already know that they will be able to. but I guess it shows that there's some lack of knowledge. Oh, I should stop. Did you already respond to it? Okay, so it's probably waiting for me to move to the next page. But that's because there are 4 questions in total.
So yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So my explanation was not so good before.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be yes.
Yeah, but the idea here is that we move closer to that demonstration. So I'll hand over to Mads, who will take the next slides on exactly what we have in front of us here.
Thanks. Yeah, the first thing we wanted just to have a quick show off is the Madame project that we're running. It's a project between Sweden, Denmark, Poland, and Finland about disseminating S100 products.
Closer to the microphone, please.
Yeah. How do we disseminate these S100 products in, you can say, in the Baltic region? And the first, and one of the cases we have in this is that we use either SECOM to IP or we use SECOM over VDES, and of course with MMS in between. And we've called this our VDES testbed because we can do both VD terrestrial and we can do VD sat. And in the testbed right now we have 3 vessels with a Saba 6 and the MMS proxy ship. In addition to that, we have at the moment 2 base stations with the Saba 60 and MMS proxy shores. And the left picture I have here is what we have running right now. So we have one at the Sternlab premises, and we have one at the Danish Maritime Authority workshop, I think it's called. So we have some coverage in 2 places at the moment. The picture on the right is what we hope to achieve with the Madame project, with these installations. So we can cover both Danish, Swedish, some Finnish waters in our VDES testbed. And the next one. Yeah, this is, well, it's sort of the same explanation again of the network. I won't dwell too much on the top part. Oliver explained that quite nicely. I will go more into the bottom part, which is the equipment that we brought today. I don't know, the camera see this? So the first part is take the base station, where we have very close. We have the R60, which is VD terrestrial, a base station from Saab, of course. And we connect our MMS proxy shore station to be able to send MMS. It's an MMS edge router, like the one Stefan explained. In between, because we are of course cheating a little today, we just have a cable between the base station and the ship equipment, which is the R6, and that one is connected to the MMS proxy ship, which is a edge router as well. And I think I need the next slide. Oh, okay. And the setup I just explained is we have some live trials at the moment. We have Stena Germanica going from Gothenburg to Kiel. So every one time each day, we can see the R6 and the MMS proxy on board Stena Germanica communicating with our base station. And you can see in the bottom right corner, that's actually the base station at the Danish Maritime Authority workshop. It's not optimal at the moment, but it works. We're using link ID 17 short messages at the moment and random access. And the route you can see on the left picture is that's the route we have where we are communicating using MMS between the base station and the ship. So that's MMS going back and forth. And at the moment, we can go to about 26 kilometers, hoping to.
That's MMS.
Yeah, that's MMS over VDES, VD terrestrial. Hoping to extend the range, of course. And I will say we have the demo now, and 5 minutes ago it worked. So hopefully it still does. And I would just Christopher, just a second. Hopefully I can get Christopher to send a navigational warning from NEOD. I think he's hard at work on that one. Yeah. What?
We didn't see your screen. Was that intended?
You said it?
Now the R6 starts receiving something.
It's working like crazy. And yeah, we got it through. I can, well, that was, I'll just show you our, what's it called? We have OpenCPN. It's an open source ENS. We created some plugins for it so it could work as a displayer for navigational warnings and, of course, an MMS agent. Just grab the screen.
Yeah, so now you're Stena Germanica.
You don't share, right?
I'm starting to.
Good.
I'm starting to.
Yeah. Good. Because I think it would be nice to see what you talk about.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's coming in now, and I guess Christopher somewhere in.
Oh,
Good, I have one there.
This NW thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the closest thing we have right now to an let's say our Actis. It's not an Actis, but an ENS. It's working offline. It's only connected to the MMS proxy ship, so it received everything. It's communicating purely through VD terrestrial at the moment. And Christopher sent something about a shipping vessel that has sunk. That's unfortunate.
How can you
But yeah,
see that? But can we click on that NW thing and see what the problem is, or?
yeah, that when I click on it, that's.
Yeah, we don't see anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, he just sent another one. Yeah, that's what we actually wanted to show, right? Yeah. Good. Good. It arrives as well. Yeah. So I know it's very nerdy, right? That is navigational warnings from a S124 service over SECOM, MMS, VDES to actual ship equipment. Full end to end. Yeah. It's always when you present it, you think, okay, is that all right? There's coming this little dot there, and we didn't even get a text, but now we get the text. That's good. So
Yeah.
And we also cheated a bit. So we started developing the MMS proxy software while participating in the standardization. So the MMS proxies that you see here are fully according to the new RTCM MMS specification.
Yeah,
good.
that was it.
Yeah, did you read all the text? You just clicked on it once, maybe you click one more that we can see there is some text here. A fishing vessel has sunk in position. The depth above the wreck is 1 meter. The wreck is buoyed with a yellow light buoy. Mariners are advised to keep well clear. Sent from S124. Thank you very much. Thank you, Christopher, as well for sending it. I hope that it's not going out there to the real mariners. Because that would be right in the future.
More.
But there's another one. Yeah, another one. He's
busy.
It's a bad place right now.
Yeah.
I think that's what they talked about Bermuda in the old days.
Dennis,
right?
Florida,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, now it starts to get bad there. I think that's where we end, maybe that part. So he doesn't get inspired to make more mariners to have problems. It's not so funny, right?
Okay, so I
just real.
I'll steal the presentation again for another Mentimeter. So you should be able to tell us now if you see any benefits and which of sending these navigational warnings S124 documents over VDES and MMS. Or opposite benefits. So if you, of course, if you feel more for that. Yeah, so we start getting some very flexible, it is, yeah. Situational awareness, instant situational awareness, unified, harmonized. So we really start looking at the benefits of the standardization that has happened with the help of Ayala, of course. Modern near real-time broadcasted, versatile, reliable. What I don't think has been talked about very much here is that because it's S124, S100 formats, and because it's using MMS, MCP, it will also be able to sign the data. So you will have digital signatures. You can trust that the author of this information came from Danish Maritime Administration, or today the organization is a little bit different.
Yeah, if you remember back to last year in the last demo, we actually presented very much in detail this certificate and signature stuff and so on. Today we don't do that so much, but of course that's not cut away. That's just another aspect of all that. Yeah.
Okay, and then I believe, Thomas, will you take over from here?
Yeah, not feeling squeezed at all with the time now.
I think everybody here is okay not to start the survey before we are done.
So, one more thing, as somebody said, and that is an app that we also have shown before, but this is now demonstrating the purely IP-based connectivity. We're not showing the VDES connectivity here. We're just having the app that is connected to the MMS network. Am I too far from the microphone?
Now it's better.
And we can do, of course, communication just over the MMS network. And what we'll demonstrate first is purely text-based message where we are sending a point-to-point communication using the MRN as the address. So Oliver is going to send me a nice message, which will make me feel good for the rest of the day. We are using the same MMS network, so Oliver is connected to the Korean MMS router, and the app is connected to the European MMS router, and we should be able to send text messages based on the MRN. You have sent one now, and yes. Yes, and I got a very nice message that's going to make me feel good for the rest of the day.
Yeah. You are awesome.
Fantastic. One more thing that we are able to do here is that we have talked a lot about navigational warnings, and we're not going to show that, but actually I can go and subscribe to a new type of service. We have marine protected areas, which has a product specification called S122. So I can go and subscribe to marine protected areas, confirm, and then I hope that Oliver will also send MPA, Marine Protected Area S122 message. So this is a different type of communication. Before it was direct messaging using the MRNs. Now I'm subscribing to a subject, could be navigational warnings, but now it is Marine Protected Area, and I'm getting a Marine Protected Area here, and I can show it on the map. And I can zoom out a little bit. So this is this whole area in this fjord here in Denmark, and I can click on it, and I can the icon disappeared. Yeah, I zoomed it too much out probably. There we go.
Here it is.
So a natural history and biological sensitive area. And so this is just sent through the MMS. We're also making a CCOM service for this. We are collaborating with an NGO called the Protected Seas that are actually creating and gathering MPAs for the whole world. So we will be able to display this type of information for everywhere and deliver it both over MMS and also as a CCOM service. That's it.
Yeah, if I add one more, and MMS is very good for broadcasting, receiving broadcasted data. So once that is broadcasted via MMS, I think many numbers of ships can receive that message instantly. That is a good point for the MMS. And next time we can show you that where the whales are. That means we are not providing where information position for your whaling, not for that, but for protecting them from accident. So this is how we can make use of the MMS for better navigation. Thank you. Any questions on the MMS? More questions?
So then we take the last Mentimeter question.
Just one moment. We'll show one more thing.
Okay.
Oh, navigation warning.
So Christopher is sending a navigation warning right now, which should come in a short moment.
One more. The fishing vessel that has sunk.
Again.
And he laughs. Okay.
Very dangerous area. Yeah.
It is a bad day.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, it's a very good date. It's a different area.
Mm.
Oh, nice location. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, last Mentimeter question. Yeah.
All right. So
Right.
let's move to the last question. So the logical question at this point in time before we go to the champagne is, of course, what is your interest in conducting MMS VDES trials in 2025? And let's just keep it open for a little while before we go first to champagne, before a little bit further down, there's the soirée. Oh, looks very good to start with. So I have saved all the screenshots of the different questions, and I'll send it to Stefan afterwards.
So we can put that into the reports as an annex or something, so it's possible to see the reactions of the committee. I think that's valuable for maybe some decision taking. I think what we saw now is, on one hand side, a mobile phone that shows maritime safety information, right? And we saw some kind of INS equipment on a ship. We saw that transported over IP. We saw that transported over VDES. That is giving you the little tip of the iceberg of the flexibility of MMS. People who can read code are invited to look into the code. It's not complicated. People who are invited to look into the standard. It's not a lot of stuff. It's actually quite simple. Consider it. It's a gift. Yeah, it's public. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's champagne.
Now it's champagne.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's time for champagne. Yeah. Thank you for joining our demonstration and presentation and demonstration.
Good.
Yeah. Enjoy your champagne. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. All this.